Championship season is over, and we now know which three clubs will be playing Premier League football next season. It's been an absolutely crazy promotion race with so many twists, storylines, and great moments. And in this video, we are going to take a look back at how each team secured their promotion back to the Premier League. This is the story of the Championship 23-24 promotion race. We begin with the champions, Leicester City. It has been a challenging time for Leicester, going back to the start of 2023 when Leicester suffered a remarkable slide, leading to the departure that April of manager Brendan Rodgers. It was a decline that interim replacement Dean Smith could not reverse during his 8 matches in charge. The recovery began with the appointment of Manchester City assistant coach Maresca, the implementation of a new style of play, and a remarkable winning streak that, at one stage, took them 17 points clear of the playoff positions. But Leicester have had to overcome challenges, allegedly failing profitability and sustainability rules, and a wobble in form that threatened to leave them stranded in the EFL. It has been a long, difficult journey, but the destination was all that mattered. Leicester's usual business model was based on them being a Premier League club, challenging for European qualification every season. Relegation hadn't been factored in. There was no safety net, and they had just come crashing down to earth. The reality of dropping down to the EFL after 9 seasons in the top flight was they had to sell players and dramatically cut the wage bill. 10 first-team players left, 7 of them as free agents. These were players who had been recruited for fees worth 100 million combined, and were big earners too. Yuri Tielemans, Ayuzi Perez, Carlos Yonju, Ryan Bertrand, Johnny Evans, Daniel Marty, and Namplas Mendy. Inevitably, in-demand trio James Maddison, Harvey Barnes, and Timothy Castagna were sold for a combined 85 million. Leicester tried for more sales too, including Danny Ward, but either couldn't find buyers or players refused to move, as was the case for Harry Souttar. Deals also fell through for others, including Patson Dagger's proposed move to Bournemouth on deadline day. Instead, loan exits for Luke Thomas, Victor Christiansen, and Bubakari Samari were arranged, and the players who remained took hefty pay cuts via relegation clauses in their contracts, which they must have thought would never have been activated. The EFL felt the cost cutting wasn't far-reaching enough and more sales could have taken place, but what probably irritated the league was more how active Leicester were in replacing departed players, spending 10 million on Harry Winks and 7 million on Conor Cody, 2 full England internationals, and doing 2 6 million deals to win Steffi Mafidi and goalkeeper Mats Hermansen, as well as another 7.5 million on striker Tom Cannon from Everton at the end of a frantic summer transfer window that also saw Yunus Akgun and Abdul Fatawu join on a loan. It was clear that Leicester were going all in on securing an instant return to the Premier League. It was imperative then that they had the right man in place to lead them there, but rather than go down the expected route of bringing in a older, experienced head coach with a track record of promotions, Leicester sought a new direction and fresh identity. With so much at stake, it was a surprise when they turned to talented coach but near rookie manager Enzo Maresca. His stock was certainly high after assisting Pep Guardiola, leading City to last season's treble, and other clubs had made approaches. Relegation less attractive proposition to some of their longer-term targets such as Graham Potter, so they decided to go with a young, energetic coach who could change the mood around the club by injecting his enthusiasm into the team. Within 2 weeks, Maresca was appointed and set about implementing his plan from the very first day. It wasn't just for players adapting to a more patient, possession-based style of play, with Ricardo Pereira adopting a inverted fullback role and goalkeeper Hermansen playing like a extra central defender when the team was in possession. Some Leicester fans also needed time to embrace a different approach, but the opening 20 minutes of their friendly against Liverpool in Bangkok demonstrated the potential of this Maresca Leicester side. He revealed 6 players who had expected to move on after relegation had changed their minds and wanted to stay after the pre-season. He wouldn't give names, but it wasn't too difficult to guess that Wilfred Ndidi enjoyed a new attacking role, and Yannick Vestergaard was now playing an integral role, were 2 of them. Wout Face was another who had been expected to move on. The mood was low because obviously we got relegated, which we didn't expect. I didn't want, Faz said. We need to fix it. I think the objective is clear for everyone, and that's why everybody is focused and hungry to win every game and get promoted. In terms of that mission, Maresca and his side got off to a perfect start, despite still adapting to the new system. They won 13 of the first 14 league games, and after successive 1-0 defeats against Leeds and Middlesbrough in early November, they kicked on again, winning 7 matches out of 9 and remaining unbeaten for the rest of 2023. By the end of the year, they had 62 points on the board out of a possible 75. It could have been more, but for stoppage time equalisers against Ipswich and Sheffield, a record points haul was predicted, but Maresca knew that level would be hard to maintain for the full season. Between January the 13th and February the 14th, Leicester dropped just 5 points in 7 games to carve out a 12-point lead over Leeds in second and move 14 ahead of third place Southampton in the race for one of the 2 automatic promotion spots. But while results continued on the pitch, problems had already started off it. In March, it emerged that the EFL's club financial reporting unit had concerns that they were on course to breach the league's profit and sustainability rules, which would have forced them to reduce their budget and sell players in the winter transfer window. Leicester successfully argued against it, but BSR concerns had already made a huge impact on Maresca's January transfer window. He had hoped to strengthen while his side were in such a good position in the table, and seemed surprised when he was then told he would have to sell before he could buy. His problems escalated when Chelsea surprisingly recalled Cesar Cassidy from what was meant to be a season-long loan, and fellow midfielder Ndidi suffered a hamstring injury that would keep him out for several months. With his attacking midfield options reduced as well, the last thing he needed was to see his key number 8 Kieran Dewsbury sold mid-season. The club rejected a $20 million bid from top-flight Brighton, who may have thought Leicester's need to sell would force them to accept a low offer. But the financial problems weren't because Leicester didn't have money, it was because they couldn't spend the money they had. They did try to, though. A deal to bring in Stefano Sensi on loan from Inter Milan collapsed on the last day of the window over delays caused by paperwork. That attempted signing wouldn't have helped their standing with the EFL, who seemed determined to punish Leicester. The club's accounts for that period hadn't been published at the time of the charge, but after Easter they revealed an $89 million loss, adding to a $92 million loss the previous year. Add in a $31 million loss before, and the club's losses were now over $200 million for the 3-year cycle, when only $105 million was allowed under Premier League rules. Leicester punishment in accordance with the existing rules. The EFL eventually accepted that it could not punish the club this season for the alleged breach. Things appeared to be unravelling off the pitch, with growing discontent among the fans towards some of the upper management at the club, as well as some anti-EFL sentiment too. The stakes were getting higher and the pressure to achieve promotion grew, as failure would leave Leicester open to the EFL's determination to make an example of the club, who they perceived to be bending the rules to try get straight back up. A possible points action, once back in the Premier League, was seen as the better of two potential outcomes. How much all the off-field factors, the lack of additions in the winter window, and the growing pressure internally and externally affected Leicester players is difficult to quantify. But the unstoppable juggernaut began to slow dramatically. Leicester's lead was whittled away by rivals who all mounted winning runs to close the once huge gap. 3 wins from 10 matches even saw Leicester slip out of the automatic promotion places at the start of April. Concerned fans began to vent their frustration at the players after back-to-back 1-0 away defeats to Millwall and Plymouth. To add to the seemingly increasing discontent with some supporters, fan groups protested and held a meeting with the club when Leicester announced a 5% increase on the season tickets. Suddenly, it was starting to look like mounting issues would become insurmountable and scupper Leicester's promotion dream. But just when they needed it, Maresca's side showed some grit to beat playoff chasing West Bromwich Albion and then demolish promotion contenders Southampton 5-0. The celebrations following their emphatic win over Southampton, which was their biggest win of the season, didn't feel premature. 3 days later, Leeds, losing 4-0 at Loftus Road, confirmed promotion before they would eventually win the league entirely a few games later. Leicester never expected to have to mount another promotion push. Their sights had been set much higher before their fall from grace. If they had failed, the consequences could have been severe, almost disastrous for the club. Yet, Maresca and his players pumped the brakes and pulled Leicester back from the dip. What awaits Leicester in the Premier League next season? Time will tell. A points deduction is likely, but they can do nothing about that now. Leicester must enjoy the moment and face that in August. At least they will know what they have to do then. It has been a long, hard campaign, but regardless of all the problems en route, it has been a successful one. It has been tough, but it has been a season they won't forget. Now we can move on to Ipswich. When Game Changer 20 bought Ipswich in 2021, the ambition was always there for progress to be quick. The American consortium had big ambitions. New owners usually do. A club boasting a history as former champions of England and European trophy winners, with a 29,000-seater stadium, will never feel at home in the 3rd tier. But getting out of League One and then breezing straight through the Championship a year later is something that even the most optimistic Ipswich supporters would have laughed at. Pulling off back-to-back promotions to reach top flight is a freak of nature, which strikes so infrequently, with Southampton the last team to do it 12 years ago. Only 3 more had previously done it since the formation of the Premier League. This Ipswich team are a rare thing. After relegation from the Premier League in 2002, Ipswich drifted through 17 years in the 2nd tier, with a steady decline in the latter years, under the owner Marcus Evans, leaving them as seeming has-beens in League One by 2019. They'd had brushes with returns to the big time, but as time went by and financial power in that division became increasingly stretched, Ipswich fell away. Now Ipswich can look back on that time and smile, reflecting on what it offered them in the terms of a side won in ninth over 3 seasons. McKenna arrived as Cook's successor halfway through the 21-22 season. A young and ambitious coach who had been forced to retire aged 22. He had worked on the staff at Spurs and Man United before Ipswich gave him his first crack at management at the age of 35. Things started to click as the off-field structure of Chief Executive Mark Ashton and Director of Football Gary Probert, plus the investment of the new ownership group, matched McKenna's tactical nous. With the foundations laid in that first half season, 22-23 was when it all came together, but even then it wasn't easy. Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday, big clubs with significant history, were not going to let Ipswich have it all their way. Being locked in a multi-team race for one of the 2 automatic promotion spots has been Ipswich's default setting for the past 2 years, and each time they've been successful. Last season they secured second place with 98 points, scoring 101 league goals along the way. This season, second place with 96, scoring 92 goals along the way. Among the most impressive features of Ipswich's back-to-back promotion is that they are a squad stronger than some of its parts under McKenna. Choosing a standout star is a struggle. You can make a case for it being assist king Leif Davis, just as easily as you can for goal-scoring midfielder Connor Chaplin, their everywhere man Massimo Luongo, or combative captain Sam Morsey, before even considering the effective use of the squad that has kept Ipswich in the fight in their first season back in the Championship. It's truly remarkable that 15 players who featured in at least 10 matches for Ipswich in League One have replicated this feat in the Championship. Notably, Captain Morsey, Davis, Chaplin, Burgess, Harness, Burns and Luke Wolfenden have each exceeded 30 appearances in both divisions. Had it not been for injuries, this number could have been even higher, highlighting how not only impressive continuity but also exceptional coaching can help a team. Ipswich other-side neutrals took to hearts this season as they battled with parachute payment flush trio Southampton, Leeds and Leicester at the top of the table. Last season's accounts show Ipswich were the biggest spenders in League One, but in modern football that counts for little in relation to the finances at Championship level. It makes what they have achieved all the more remarkable. Although they made modest investments of $4 million last summer, Ipswich leveraged smart loan deals, including Chelsea's Amari Hutchinson and Bournemouth's Kiefer Moore. Ipswich got off to a winning start in their first Championship campaign for 4 years. McKenna led Ipswich to wins both in their first away game as well as their first home game. And Ipswich's first league loss since January came versus Leeds, but even though they lost 4-3, it was a sign that they could push the big boys of the Championship, and this was not some early season form. They were capable of competing. They bounced back from this defeat to maintain unbeaten in September, going 13 points out of a purse pool 15 points. By December, Ipswich had lost just 3 games, but then a downturn in form followed as a result of an ensuing injury crisis, with a 4-0 loss to Leeds at Ellen Road, which is a damaging blow, before they would draw the next 3 games in a row. It looked as if Ipswich at the turn of the year were running out of steam, but it would be the FA Cup that seemingly turned their season back on track. After a run of 5 without a win, Ipswich found a win in the third round FA Cup against Wimbledon, winning 3-1. This was a massive confidence booster for the club and their form improved again, just at the right time as they secured a massive 1-1 draw at the King Power Stadium to maintain second place. They then suffered a shock defeat in the 4th round of the Cup though, losing 2-1 at home to Maidstone in the 6th tier of English football. was very embarrassing and could have had the opposite effect of the Wimbledon result and completely derail their season. And initially, it seemed it had. Ipswich's stuttering form in the championship continued until early February with a 3-2 away loss against Preston and a 2-2 draw at West Brom, dropping Ipswich to 4th in the table. However, this was put to stop with 4 successive victories, climbing back to 3rd place. Just like Leicester and seemingly everybody, towards the back end of the season it looked as if Ipswich were collapsing. After a win versus Southampton, it seemed as if promotion was all but done, but then came 4 games without a win in the most crucial part of the season. Luckily, Leeds and Leicester couldn't capitalise, and then came a crucial away game versus Coventry, where Ipswich were being held 1-1 in the 68th minute, and it seemed promotion was evading them. But it was one of their League One heroes, Cameron Burgess, who would score to give them the win, and that would put promotion back in their hands. And it would eventually secure it at home versus Huddersfield. Ipswich have lost 6 league matches all season, after being beaten 4 times in 22-23, and have made Portman Road a fortress. They've only tasted defeat on a single occasion in each of the past 2 seasons. As Ipswich's team bus wound its way to the stadium 90 minutes before kick-off against relegation candidates Huddersfield, the air was thick of blue smoke. At the final home game of last season, the same sort of welcome worked perfectly as Ipswich went on to beat Exeter 6-0 and secure promotion. And 12 months on, the fans hoped the same would happen again. And it did. At every turn of this promotion race where Ipswich has been written off, they have delivered. Ahead of schedule, and as a club united, Ipswich are finally on that boat. I know it's been done before, A.P. McGuinness said, celebrating promotion, but it'll never be done like we've done it again. And he might just be right. Whatever happens in the Premier League, McGuinness is staying, and Ipswich are back in the Prem, and the future looks bright. Now we move on to Southampton. 3 days on from the final game of the Championship regular season against Leeds, Southampton's hierarchy arranged a boat trip after training. Spirits were high as players trained at St Mary's Stadium. Once the session was completed, the squad travelled to the south coast where a yacht was waiting for them. Southampton's ownership group and other key executives also made the trip. Southampton took the yacht across to the Isle of Wight and had lunch at a beachfront restaurant. The owners spoke at the lunch, telling players they would be able to have the party of their lives, provided they won promotion at the playoffs. Southampton have done just that, beating Leeds 1-0 at Wembley, thanks to Adam Armstrong's first half strike, to secure the type of celebration their owner promised. It is the 3rd triumph for Southampton manager Russell Martin over Leeds, and opposite number Daniel Farke, whom he played under for Norwich this season. One was that final day fixture 3 weeks ago, and the other came against the backdrop of 4 successive losses for Southampton, with recently appointed Martin under growing pressure from supporters. Then came Wembley. While the director of football Jason Wilcox and owners shared profound faith in Martin, believing he was among football's best young coaches, that 3-1 win against Leeds eased growing scrutiny. Martin's first year with Southampton has delivered a cultural shift and an overhaul in playing identity. It can, however, be bookended by form deserting his side at the start and end of the season, which snuffed out hopes of automatic promotion. In between those dips, Southampton went on an incredible run of 25 league games unbeaten, bringing a winning streak and mindset back to St Mary's. This season, Southampton have scored 22 goals in the final 15 minutes of games, more than any other championship side. Internally, it is being attributed to the depth of spirit Martin has fostered, as well as improved training, where players under his "train how we play" mantra can maintain a better structure within 90 minutes. Martin has been described as a "what you see is what you get" character. He is relatable for young players, having retired 5 years before. He is only 38 years old now. Arguably his greatest challenge was to win the trust of the dressing room and its senior figures though. Upon his arrival, Martin walked into a fractured club, devastated by post-relegation redundancies, with unhappy personnel also leaving, and several players who appeared despondent and suffering from a confidence crisis. Incoming staff say they entered an environment that was cold and suffering a lack of communication across each branch of the club. Martin inherited 31 outfield players and has since expressed publicly that most of them wanted to leave. Martin likes to have in-depth conversation with players individually, hoping they feel comfortable opening up. He held several one-on-ones with players who had been in a psychologically difficult place after relegation and wanted to leave for a fresh start as soon as he came in. Some said their chief desire was to simply start enjoying footballing again. That level of honesty struck a chord with Martin, appreciative that they felt able to express those emotions. Gradually, others who were more guarded initially followed a similar path. Changing the mood around St Mary's was another task that would require patience. Players were acutely aware of supporters' negativity, not just related to last season, but across several years, with playing at home becoming a subdued, groaning, and at times apathetic experience. With gradual progress, Martin and the players have worked hard to transform the atmosphere to the point where that strength of feeling crescendoed in the playoff semi-final second leg, with St Mary's at its loudest in recent memory. The team received a raucous welcome as their coach arrived pre-match with flares, flags and songs. Players were taken aback by the level of support, with some even filming the scenes from inside the coach. West Brom's preparations were disturbed as they were held up for 15 minutes waiting for rows to clear the stadium, showing how much Russell Martin has managed to change and cultivate an incredible atmosphere and shift a club in ruins when he took over. To carry out Martin's ball-dominant style, the squad needed a high level of confidence in risk-taking. Goalkeeper Gavin Bazunu, before a Achilles injury in April, was a case in point. The Republic of Ireland international, who has regularly come under intense criticism, has struggled with his shot stopping since joining, with his data showing he has underperformed his expected goals by 20 goals this season. It has contributed to Southampton conceding the 11th most goals of any championship side, despite their overall XG against total being the 4th lowest. Regardless, Bazunu's distribution when playing up from the back is his greatest strength, and is seen to improve ball progression. Martin's side have registered the championship's joint second highest expected goals, compensating for the poor defending. Rewiring the attacking structure has been illustrative of Martin's coaching acumen, remedying the disappointment of losing Nathan Tiller last summer. This was a blow as the coaching staff thought he would score 15 plus goals this season from the right. If he had remained at the club, he would have been a key player on the right wing, but Martin moved Carl Walker-Peters into a right wing role when Southampton had the ball, shifting Adam Armstrong, who has directly been involved in 36 goals this season, the most of any championship player. sent them to the Premier League. His fourth in 3 games against Leeds has been an unquestionable success story under Martin, trained to make intelligent and incisive out-in runs. The delicacy of a championship player final will naturally have consequences on summer plans. Failure to secure promotion would have meant incurring further losses and financial cuts. Key players such as Walker Peters would have been sold, and those on loan who have been impressive and want to stay, namely Flynn Downs and Taylor Harwood-Bellis, would have found it difficult to have permanent deals sanctioned. There is a sense that Southampton will be in a better position financially now promotion is assured, whether it is next season or later down the line. The School of Thought insists staff will know Southampton's aim is to establish themselves as a top 10 Premier League side and offer the best platform for young players. But Martin has repeatedly had to contend with other challenges this season. Losing director of football Wilcox, who left for Man United in April, was a significant blow. The pair had a close relationship and same footballing beliefs, with Wilcox the man who brought in Martin. It was difficult to deal with for Martin mid-season. Just like Ipswich, the magic of their promotion is down to Martin. Navigating the playoffs is very difficult, but Martin did extremely well to psychologically help his side bounce back from the disappointment of missing out on automatic promotion. They collapsed at the end of the season, losing 3 games in a row, including a thumping at Leicester, which all but ended their promotion hopes. But in truth, this loss could have been the best thing to happen to Martin and Southampton. Once it was confirmed they were not going to get automatic promotion, they went into the final day of the season facing Leeds, with both teams aware they couldn't get promotion. Martin used this time in between preparing his side mentally for the playoffs, and the perfect way to do this was by beating Leeds at Ellen Road on the final day. It was a sign that his side were locked in and ready for the playoffs. It was their second win over Leeds this season, but more importantly, instilled a belief into Martin's side going into the playoff final, where they faced Leeds again, that they were better than them and knew how to beat them. Meanwhile, Leeds would have to overcome this psychological hurdle, which they were unable to do. Going up was fundamental in Southampton's immediate success, and to Sport Republic's multi-club model, which has put in over 300 million during its 2.5 years in ownership, and is awaiting some form of return. Yet, the level of root and branch reform that has taken place with Martin and his players, the leading influence, has brought broader vindication, and now, thanks to football's richest one-off game, a much bigger reward. In truth, the 3 sides who went up this season were more than deserving. This was perhaps the most competitive promotion race in years. The level set by Leicester, Ipswich, Leeds and Southampton was terrific, and 3 teams on over 90 points in the season is impressive. The fact Southampton went on a 25 unbeaten game run and still finished 4th shows just how high the bar was set this season. Leeds were unfortunate not to win promotion, but in the end, Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton all proved to be mentally tougher. Leicester had the better quality and were quite clearly the best side out of all of them, and after a rocky spell, their quality shined through. Meanwhile, Ipswich showed the resilience and character and experience from League One, which Leeds maybe didn't have, as after a bad spell they were able to bounce back when it mattered most and hold their nerve. Southampton were able to get over the disappointment of missing out of automatic promotion quicker, and Russell Martin's brilliant tactics for Daniel Varg ultimately led them to promotion. So Leicester, Ipswich, Southampton, all led by 3 incredible young managers, all who played beautiful, attractive, ball-dominant football, with great stories and great players, have had incredible seasons, and will be in the Premier Premier League next year. Just how good they will do, we will find out in August. But what a great achievement from these three, and what a great season of Championship football. So there we go. That is the story of the Championship promotion race. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed, and if you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in another video. Peace.